The elevator doors closed with a soft chime, sealing Elena inside with her boss. The silence felt heavy as they rose to the 35th floor. She could feel his eyes on her, studying her face in the reflection of the polished steel doors. Her hands trembled slightly as she clutched her purse tighter, knowing what she was about to do would change everything. The contract in her bag felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. 24 hours ago, she had been just another employee at Sterling Industries. Now she was about to sell herself to the man who signed her paychecks. The numbers on the elevator display climbed higher. 28, 29, 30. Each floor brought her closer to a decision that made her stomach turn. But every time doubt crept in, she thought of Lily lying in that hospital bed, her small body fighting a battle no 7-year-old should have to face. The doctors had been clear. Without the treatment, her daughter had maybe 6 months. With it, she could live a normal life. The only problem was the cost. $300,000. Money Elena didn't have and couldn't get anywhere else. She had tried everything. Bank loans were denied because of her credit score. Family couldn't help because there was no family left. Friends were struggling just like she was. The insurance company called the treatment experimental and refused to cover it. Every door had slammed shut in her face until she found herself standing in front of the last one she ever wanted to open. The elevator reached the top floor with another soft chime. The doors slid open to reveal the executive suite, all glass and marble and expensive furniture that cost more than Elena made in a year. Her boss stepped out first, his tall frame moving with the confidence of a man who had never had to worry about money. He turned to look at her, his dark eyes unreadable. "Are you sure about this?" he asked quietly. Elena nodded, not trusting her voice. She had to be sure. There was no other choice. 3 days earlier, she had been sitting in Dr. Peterson's office listening to words that felt like a death sentence. Acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Stage 3. Without immediate treatment, the cancer would spread faster than they could control it. But there was hope. A new treatment combining immunotherapy with targeted drug therapy had shown remarkable results in clinical trials. Children with the same diagnosis were going into complete remission. "The problem is the cost," Dr. Peterson had said, his voice gentle but firm. "Insurance companies haven't approved coverage yet because it's still considered experimental. The total cost would be around $300,000. Elena had felt the world tilt beneath her feet. $300,000 might as well have been $3 million. She worked as an administrative assistant at Sterling Industries, making $42,000 a year before taxes. She had exactly $800 in her savings account and $1,700 in checking. Her credit cards were already maxed out from previous medical bills when Lily had gotten sick the first time with what they thought was just the flu. "How long do we have to decide?" Elena had asked. "The sooner we start, the better her chances. I'd recommend beginning treatment within the next 2 weeks at the latest." 2 weeks. Elena had walked out of that office in a daze, her mind racing through impossible calculations. Even if she worked 3 jobs and never slept, she couldn't make that kind of money in time. She had spent the next day making phone calls, begging banks for loans, reaching out to charity organizations, posting on crowdfunding websites. Nothing came close to what she needed. It was Friday afternoon when everything changed. She had been working late, trying to finish a report for Monday's board meeting. The office was empty except for the cleaning crew and the security guard. Elena was so focused on her computer screen that she didn't notice her boss approaching until he spoke. "Working late again, Elena?" She looked up to find him standing beside her desk. At 38, he was younger than most executives at his level, but he had built Sterling Industries from a small consulting firm into a multi-million-dollar corporation in just 10 years. His name was on Forbes lists and business magazine covers. To Elena, he had always been polite but distant, the kind of boss who knew your name but nothing else about you. "Just finishing up the Morrison report," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. She had been crying earlier in the bathroom and hoped her eyes weren't still red. He studied her face for a moment. "Everything all right? You seem upset." Elena considered lying, giving him some excuse about being tired or stressed about work. But something in his expression made her pause. Maybe it was exhaustion, or maybe it was the weight of carrying this burden alone, but she found herself telling him the truth. "My daughter is sick," she said quietly. "She needs treatment that costs more money than I'll ever have." He was quiet for a long moment, his expression thoughtful. Then he surprised her. "How much?" Elena told him. She watched his face for any reaction, but he remained perfectly calm, as if she had told him the price of lunch instead of a life-changing sum of money. "I see," he said finally. "That is a considerable amount." Elena nodded, feeling foolish for even mentioning it. What had she expected? That her boss would just write her a check? She turned back to her computer, ready to pretend the conversation had never happened. Elena. She looked up again. Would you be willing to meet with me tomorrow? Not here. Somewhere private where we can discuss this further. Elena felt a flutter of hope mixed with confusion. Discuss what? A potential solution to your problem. They had met the next day at an upscale restaurant downtown. Elena had worn her best dress, a simple black number she had bought for her sister's wedding 2 years ago. She felt out of place among the expensive suits and designer handbags, but her boss seemed perfectly at ease. I've been thinking about your situation, he said after they had ordered. There might be a way I can help you. Elena leaned forward, her heart pounding. What kind of way? I'm willing to provide the money your daughter needs. All of it. The full $300,000. Elena stared at him, unable to process what she was hearing. I don't understand. Why would you do that? Because I can, and because she doesn't deserve to suffer because of circumstances beyond your control. But I could never pay you back. Not that kind of money. I'm not asking you to pay me back with money. Elena felt something cold settle in her stomach. Then what are you asking for? He was quiet for a long moment, his fingers wrapped around his coffee cup. When he spoke, his voice was careful, measured. One night. With me. Completely voluntary, completely private. No one else would ever know. Elena felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. She understood now why he had chosen such a private restaurant, why he had been so careful with his words. You're asking me to. She couldn't finish the sentence. I'm offering you a way to save your daughter's life. What you choose to do with that offer is entirely up to you. Elena sat back in her chair, her mind reeling. This wasn't how these things happened in movies or books. There was no villain twirling his mustache, no dramatic music, no clear line between right and wrong. Just a desperate mother and a man with money who wanted something she had never thought of as valuable. I need time to think, she said finally. Of course. Take all the time you need. But remember, you said the doctors wanted to start treatment soon. Elena had spent the rest of the weekend pacing her small apartment, staring at Lily as she slept, trying to find any other way. She called her sister in California, who cried with her but had no money to offer. She looked into selling everything she owned, but even that wouldn't come close to what she needed. She researched other treatments, other hospitals, other options. There were none. Monday morning she had walked into his office and said yes. Now, standing in his penthouse apartment, Elena tried to keep her breathing steady. The contract had been simple and straightforward. $300,000 transferred directly to the hospital. In exchange, she would spend one night with him. No strings attached, no future obligations, no complications. The money has already been transferred, he said, pouring himself a drink from a crystal decanter. Your daughter's treatment will begin tomorrow. Elena nodded, her throat tight. It was done. Lily would live. You can change your mind, he said, turning to face her. The money is yours regardless. I meant what I said, this has to be completely voluntary. Elena looked at him, really looked at him for the first time. She had worked for him for 3 years, but she had never really seen him as anything other than her boss. Now she noticed things she had missed before. The way his dark hair fell across his forehead. The small scar above his left eyebrow. The fact that his expensive suit couldn't hide how tired he looked. Why? She asked. Why are you doing this? He was quiet for a long moment, staring out the floor-to-ceiling windows at the city below. Because sometimes life doesn't give us the choices we want, he said finally. Sometimes we have to make the best decision we can with the options we have. Elena understood. She walked over to where he stood and placed her hand on his arm. I'm not changing my mind, she said. Elena woke up the next morning in her own bed, having left his apartment before dawn. She lay still for a moment, staring at the ceiling, trying to process what had happened. The night had been nothing like what she had expected. There had been no demands, no coldness, no transaction-like exchange. Instead, there had been quiet conversation, unexpected gentleness, and something that felt almost like understanding. She reached for her phone and saw 3 missed calls from the hospital. Her heart jumped into her throat until she read the text message that followed. Treatment approved and scheduled to begin at 9 a.m. Please arrive by 8:30 for pre-treatment preparation. Elena closed her eyes and felt tears of relief roll down her cheeks. It was real. The money had gone through. Lily was going to get the treatment she needed. She got dressed quickly and drove to the hospital, her hands shaking slightly on the steering wheel. When she walked into Lily's room, she found her daughter sitting up in bed, coloring in a book one of the nurses had brought her. "Mommy?" Lily smiled, her face lighting up despite the 4 line in her small arm. "Nurse Jenny said I get to start my special medicine today." Elena sat on the edge of the bed and smoothed Lily's thin brown hair away from her face. The chemotherapy from her first round of treatment had taken most of it, but it was starting to grow back in soft, downy patches. "That's right, baby. This medicine is going to make you all better." "Will it hurt?" Elena's throat tightened. "Maybe a little. But you're the bravest girl I know, and I'll be right here with you the whole time." Dr. Peterson entered the room carrying a tablet and wearing the kind of smile Elena hadn't seen from him before. Genuine hope instead of cautious optimism. "Good morning, ladies. Are we ready to get started?" The next few hours passed in a blur of medical preparations. Elena signed forms, listened to explanations of side effects and treatment schedules, and held Lily's hand as the first round of the new medication dripped into her fore. Lily was remarkably calm, chattering about a cartoon she had watched earlier and asking if she could have chocolate pudding for lunch. "You're handling this like a champion," Dr. Peterson told Lily during his afternoon check. He turned to Elena with a reassuring smile. "The early indicators look very good. Her body is responding well to the treatment." Elena felt a weight lift from her shoulders that she hadn't even realized she was carrying. For the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to believe that everything might actually be okay. After Lily fell asleep that evening, Elena sat in the uncomfortable hospital chair and let herself think about what had happened the night before. She had expected to feel shame or regret, but instead she felt something more complicated. There had been moments of genuine connection, conversations that had nothing to do with their arrangement. He had told her about growing up poor, about building his company from nothing, about understanding what it meant to have limited choices. "You don't have to do this," he had said more than once throughout the evening. "The money is yours either way." But Elena had chosen to stay, not because she felt obligated, but because she had seen something in his eyes that she recognized: loneliness. It was the same loneliness she carried every day as a single mother trying to hold everything together. Her phone buzzed with a text message. She expected it to be from work or maybe the hospital, but the name on the screen made her pause. It was from him. "How is Lily doing?" Elena stared at the message for a long moment. She hadn't expected him to ask about her daughter. Their arrangement was supposed to be finished, a one-time transaction with no further contact. She typed back, "Treatment started today. Doctor says early signs are good." His response came quickly, "I'm glad to hear that." Elena put her phone away and tried not to think about the fact that he had asked about Lily by name, or that his message had sounded genuinely concerned rather than politely distant. The next few days fell into a routine. Elena would arrive at the hospital early, spend the day with Lily during her treatments, and go home exhausted but hopeful. The new medication was working better than anyone had dared to expect. Lily's energy was returning, her appetite was improving, and her blood work showed steady progress. At work, Elena tried to maintain normalcy. She arrived on time, completed her assignments, and avoided any unnecessary interaction with her boss. When they did have to communicate about work matters, he was professional and distant, giving no indication that anything had changed between them. But there were small things Elena noticed. He seemed to be working later than usual, often still in his office when she left at 6. She caught him looking tired during meetings, rubbing his temples in a way that suggested headaches. Once she saw him standing at his office window staring out at nothing, his expression unreadable. Elena told herself it wasn't her concern. Their arrangement was over. Whatever was going on in his personal life had nothing to do with her. On Friday afternoon, Elena was preparing to leave work when her phone rang. It was Dr. Peterson. "Elena, I wanted to give you an update on Lily's progress." Elena's heart jumped. "Is everything okay?" "Everything is better than okay. Her latest blood work shows remarkable improvement. The cancer cells are responding to treatment even faster than we hoped. If she continues at this rate, we could be looking at complete remission within the next 2 months." Elena sat down heavily in her desk chair, overwhelmed by relief and joy. "Are you serious?" "Completely serious. This new treatment is exceeding all our expectations. Lily is going to be fine, Elena. More than fine, she's going to be completely healthy." After she hung up, Elena sat in her empty office and cried. Not the desperate, frightened tears she had been shedding for weeks, but tears of pure gratitude and relief. Her daughter was going to live. Not just survive but thrive. She looked up to find her boss standing in her doorway. "Good news?" he asked quietly. Elena wiped her eyes and nodded. "The treatment is working better than expected. They think she'll be in complete remission soon." Something flickered across his face, relief, maybe, or satisfaction. That's wonderful news. They looked at each other for a moment, and Elena felt the weight of everything that had passed between them. She wanted to thank him, to tell him how much his help had meant, but she didn't know how to put it into words. "Elena," he said finally, "would you have dinner with me tonight? Not because of any obligation, but because I'd like to celebrate your daughter's recovery." Elena hesitated. She had told herself their interaction was over, that it was better to keep things simple and professional. But looking at him now, she saw not her boss or the man who had paid for her daughter's treatment, but someone who genuinely cared about what happened to them. "Okay," she said. "I'd like that." They met at a different restaurant this time, smaller and more casual than the place where they had made their original arrangement. The conversation was easier, more natural. He asked about Lily's treatment, about her side effects, about how she was handling everything. Elena found herself talking more than she had in months, sharing stories about Lily's sense of humor, her determination, her dreams of becoming a veterinarian when she grew up. "She sounds like an amazing kid," he said. "She is. She's been so brave through all of this. I don't think I could have handled it as well as she has." "You've been pretty brave yourself." Elena shook her head. "I just did what any mother would do. Not every mother would have made the choices you made." Elena met his eyes across the table. "I'm not sure I had a choice." "You always had a choice. That's what made your decision so significant." They were quiet for a moment, the weight of their shared experience hanging between them. "Can I ask you something?" Elena said finally. He nodded. "Why did you really do it? Help us, I mean." He was quiet for a long time, turning his wine glass slowly between his fingers. "When I was 12, he said finally, my younger brother got sick. Meningitis. My parents couldn't afford the treatment he needed, and by the time we found a way to get help, it was too late. He died because we didn't have money." Elena felt her chest tighten. "I'm sorry." "I promised myself that if I ever had the power to prevent that from happening to someone else, I would. When you told me about Lily, I saw an opportunity to keep that promise." Elena understood now why he had seemed so determined to help, why the money had seemed almost secondary to him. "But why the arrangement we made? You could have just given me the money." He looked uncomfortable for the first time all evening. "Because I'm not a good person, Elena. I'm selfish and lonely, and I wanted something for myself too. I told myself it was a fair exchange, but I knew it wasn't fair to you." Elena reached across the table and touched his hand. "It was fair. You saved my daughter's life. That's worth more than anything I could ever give you." They finished dinner in comfortable silence, and he walked her to her car. As she was about to drive away, he leaned down to her window. "Would you like to have dinner again sometime? No arrangements, no obligations. Just because I enjoy your company." Elena looked at him, this man who had changed everything for her and Lily, and realized she enjoyed his company too. "I'd like that," she said. 2 weeks later, Elena was sitting in Lily's hospital room reading a story when Dr. Peterson walked in with the biggest smile she had ever seen on his face. "Ladies, I have some incredible news," he said, settling into the chair beside Lily's bed. "The latest test results show that Lily is officially in complete remission." Elena felt the book slip from her hands. "What does that mean exactly?" "It means there are no detectable cancer cells in her system. The treatment has been completely successful. With continued monitoring and a few more rounds of maintenance therapy, Lily should be able to live a completely normal, healthy life." Lily looked up from the puzzle she was working on. "Does that mean I can go back to school soon?" Dr. Peterson laughed. "It means you can do whatever you want, sweetheart. You're going to be just fine." Elena spent the rest of the day in a daze of gratitude and disbelief. After 6 months of fear and uncertainty, it was hard to accept that the nightmare was really over. Lily seemed to take the news in stride, more excited about the prospect of returning to her second-grade class than worried about the medical implications. That evening, after Lily had fallen asleep, Elena stepped out into the hospital hallway to call her boss. She had been having dinner with him once or twice a week since that first night after the good news, gradually discovering layers to his personality that had nothing to do with business or money. "Elena?" He answered on the first ring. "How did the appointment go?" "She's in complete remission," Elena said, her voice thick with emotion. "Dr. Peterson says she's essentially cured." The silence on the other end of the line stretched so long that Elena wondered if the call had dropped. "Hello? I'm here," he said, and his voice sounded strange. That's wonderful news. Are you okay? You sound upset." "I'm not upset. I'm relieved. More relieved than I thought I would be." Elena smiled, warmed by his obvious concern for Lily. Over the past few weeks, she had come to realize that his interest in her daughter's recovery was genuine, not just polite concern for an employee's family situation. Would you like to celebrate with us? I was thinking of taking Lily out for ice cream tomorrow if she's feeling up to it. Another pause. You want me to meet her? Elena realized this would be the first time Lily and her boss would meet outside of their professional relationship. To Lily, he was just mommy's boss who sometimes sent get-well cards to the hospital. Only if you want to. No pressure. I'd like that very much. They met at a small ice cream shop near the hospital the next afternoon. Elena watched nervously as her boss approached their table, wondering how he would interact with a 7-year-old after spending most of his time in boardrooms and business meetings. You must be Lily, he said, sitting down across from her with a gentle smile. I've heard so much about you. Lily looked up from her chocolate sundae, studying him with the direct gaze that only children could manage. Are you my mom's boss? I am. Do you make her work really hard? Elena started to intervene, but he held up a hand, still smiling. I try not to make her work too hard. Do you think I should give her more time off? Lily nodded seriously. She gets tired a lot. And she worries about stuff. What kind of stuff does she worry about? Money and me being sick and whether we have enough food in the house. Lily took another bite of ice cream. But she's not worried as much anymore. Elena felt her cheeks flush. She hadn't realized Lily had picked up on so much of her anxiety over the past few months. Well, your mom is very good at her job, he said. And she's very brave. I know. She stayed with me every night at the hospital even when the chair was really uncomfortable. Elena watched as something shifted in his expression. He looked at Lily with something that might have been recognition, as if he was seeing something familiar in her resilience. They spent the next hour talking about Lily's favorite books, her pet hamster, and her plans to return to school. Elena's boss listened with genuine interest, asking questions that showed he was actually paying attention to Lily's answers. By the time they left, Lily had invited him to come see her hamster sometime. She likes you, Elena said as they walked to their cars. She's a special kid. You should be proud. I am. And I'm grateful every day for what you did for us. He stopped walking and turned to face her. Elena, you need to stop thinking of yourself as owing me something. What happened between us was complicated, but it wasn't a debt you need to keep paying. Elena looked at him, this man who had saved her daughter's life and was now becoming something more complicated than just her boss or a business arrangement. What if I don't want to stop? She said quietly. He studied her face in the afternoon sunlight. What do you mean? I mean, what if I enjoy spending time with you? What if I like that you care about Lily's recovery? What if this has become something more than gratitude? Elena could see the surprise in his eyes, followed by something that looked like hope. Are you sure about that? Because once we go down that road, everything changes. I won't just be your boss anymore, and you won't just be my employee. Elena thought about all the evenings they had spent talking over dinner, the way he had listened when she shared her fears about Lily's treatment, the genuine care he had shown for both of them. Maybe it's time for things to change, she said. 3 months later, Elena was packing up Lily's things from their small apartment. Lily was officially finished with her treatment and had been given a clean bill of health. She was back in school, playing with friends and acting like the normal 7-year-old she had always been meant to be. Are you sure about this? Elena asked as she folded Lily's clothes into boxes. Her boss, though she was trying to think of him by his first name now, James, looked up from where he was carefully wrapping Lily's collection of ceramic horses. I'm sure. The house has plenty of room and Lily needs a yard to play in. Besides, I think I'm getting attached to that hamster. Elena smiled. Over the past few months, James had become a regular presence in their lives. He attended Lily's school play, helped with homework when Elena had to work late, and had somehow become the person Lily turned to when she needed help reaching something on a high shelf. What are people at work going to say? Elena asked. They're going to say I'm lucky to have found someone who makes me want to be a better person. Elena looked around their tiny apartment, the place where she had spent so many nights worrying about money and Lily's health. It was hard to believe how much their lives had changed. Are you nervous? James asked, seeming to sense her uncertainty. A little. This is all so different from what I expected my life to be. Good different or bad different? Elena considered the question. 6 months ago, she had been a single mother working paycheck to paycheck, terrified of losing the most important person in her world. Now Lily was healthy, they were financially secure, and Elena had found something she hadn't even been looking for, a partner who genuinely cared about both of them. Definitely good different, she said. That evening, after they had moved the last of their belongings into James's house, their house now, Elena tucked Lily into her new bed. The room was twice the size of her old one, with windows that looked out onto a backyard with a swing set James had installed the week before. "Mommy?" Lily said as Elena turned off the light. "Yes, baby? I like it here. And I like James. He's nice to us." Elena sat back down on the edge of the bed. "He is nice to us. How do you feel about him being around more often?" Lily was quiet for a moment, thinking with the seriousness that had developed during her illness. "I think maybe we needed someone to take care of us for a while," she said finally. "And maybe he needed someone to take care of too." Elena was struck by her daughter's wisdom. "What makes you think that?" "He gets this sad look sometimes when he thinks nobody's watching. But he doesn't look sad anymore when he's with us." Elena kissed Lily's forehead and went downstairs to find James sitting on the couch, looking through some of the photos Elena had brought from their apartment. He held up a picture of Lily from her 6th birthday party, before she had gotten sick. "She looks so different here," he said. "She was different then. We both were." James set the photo aside and looked at Elena. "Do you ever regret how this all started?" Elena had been expecting this question for weeks. She knew James still struggled with guilt over their original arrangement, still wondered if she was with him out of obligation rather than choice. "No," she said, settling beside him on the couch. "I regret that we had to go through all of that fear and uncertainty. I regret that Lily had to be sick. But I don't regret the choice I made that led us here. Even though it wasn't really a fair choice?" Elena turned to face him fully. "James, you saved my daughter's life. You gave us a future we wouldn't have had otherwise. And somewhere along the way you gave us something else too, a family. How could I regret that?" James was quiet for a long moment, studying her face as if trying to read something there. "I love you," he said finally. "I know that complicates everything, and I know I probably shouldn't feel that way given how this started, but I do." Elena felt her heart skip. They had been building toward this moment for months, but hearing the words still took her breath away. "I love you too," she said. "And it doesn't complicate anything. It makes everything make sense." Later that night, Elena lay in bed listening to the sounds of their new life, the quiet hum of the air conditioning, the soft sounds of James sleeping beside her, the peaceful silence that came from knowing Lily was safe and healthy in the room down the hall. For the first time in years, Elena fell asleep without worrying about tomorrow. 6 months into their new life together, Elena was beginning to understand that healing came in waves. Some days, it felt like their unconventional beginning was ancient history, just an unusual story about how they had met. Other days, she would catch James looking at her with an expression that seemed to hold guilt and gratitude in equal measure, and she would remember that their relationship had been built on her desperation. It was during one of these moments, on a quiet Sunday morning while Lily played in the backyard, that Elena decided they needed to have a conversation they had been avoiding. "We need to talk about the elephant in the room," she said, setting down her coffee cup and looking directly at James. He looked up from the newspaper he had been pretending to read. "Which elephant would that be?" "The one where you still think I'm only with you because of what you did for Lily." James set the paper aside, his expression becoming careful and guarded. "Aren't you?" Elena sighed. She had known this conversation was coming, but that didn't make it easier. "James, look at me. Really look at me." He met her eyes, his own filled with uncertainty. "Do I look like a woman who's pretending to be happy? Do I seem like someone who's acting out of obligation? I don't know. Maybe you're a good actress." Elena stood up and moved to the window where she could see Lily teaching James's neighbor's dog to sit. The scene was so normal, so peaceful, that it was hard to remember the fear that had dominated their lives just a year ago. "Do you remember what you told me that first night?" she asked without turning around. "You said that sometimes life doesn't give us the choices we want, and we have to make the best decision we can with the options we have." "I remember. You were right. But you left out something important. Sometimes the choice we're forced to make turns out to be the best thing that ever happened to us." Elena turned back to face him. "I'm not with you because I feel obligated. I'm with you because over the past year, I've gotten to know a man who cares enough about a stranger's child to pay for her medical treatment. A man who asks about her homework and remembers that she likes her sandwiches cut into triangles. A man who holds me when I have nightmares about losing her." James was quiet, but she could see something shifting in his expression. "I'm with you because you make me laugh when I thought I had forgotten how. I'm with you because you make Lily feel safe and loved. I'm with you because when I imagine my future, I can't picture it without you in it." Elena sat back down beside him on the couch. "But mostly I'm with you because I choose to be. Every day I wake up and choose this life, choose us. Not because I have to, but because I want to. James reached for her hand, his thumb tracing over her knuckles. I'm scared, he admitted quietly. Of what? Of believing that this is real. Of believing that someone could choose me without being paid to do it. Elena felt her heart break a little for him. James, when was the last time someone chose you just because they wanted to be with you? He was quiet for so long that Elena wondered if he was going to answer. I don't know, he said finally. Maybe never. Elena understood then that James's guilt about their arrangement wasn't just about her. It was about his own deep-seated belief that he wasn't worth loving without some kind of transaction involved. Well, I'm choosing you now, she said firmly. Not because of money or obligations or gratitude. Because you're kind and funny and patient with my daughter. Because you make me feel safe. Because you're a good man who deserves to be loved. James looked at her with something that might have been wonder. How do you do that? Do what? Make everything seem possible. Elena smiled. Practice. I've spent the last year learning to believe in impossible things. Like my daughter being healthy, like finding love when I wasn't looking for it, like building a family in the most unlikely way. They were interrupted by Lily bursting through the back door, her face flushed with excitement. James? You have to come see what Chester learned, she called, referring to the neighbor's golden retriever. James looked at Elena, and she could see the last of his uncertainty melting away. Go, she said. Your daughter is calling. James paused in the doorway and looked back at her. Our daughter, he corrected gently. Later that evening, after Lily had gone to bed, Elena found James in his study working on his laptop. It was a habit she had noticed. When he was processing emotions, he threw himself into work. Everything okay? She asked, settling into the chair across from his desk. I've been thinking about what you said earlier. About choosing each other. Elena waited, sensing there was more. I want to ask you something, but I need you to know there's no pressure. If you say no, nothing changes between us. Elena felt her pulse quicken. Okay. James closed his laptop and gave her his full attention. I want to marry you. Not because I think I should or because it makes practical sense, but because I can't imagine spending the rest of my life with anyone else. Elena felt tears spring to her eyes. James? I know it's complicated because of how we started. I know people might think it's too soon or that our relationship is built on the wrong foundation. But I also know that I love you and Lily more than I thought it was possible to love anyone. I know that when I think about the future, all I want is more mornings like this one, more evenings helping with homework, more nights falling asleep next to you. Elena wiped away a tear that had escaped. Are you sure this is what you want? Really sure? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Elena stood up and walked around the desk to where he sat. She took his face in her hands and looked into his eyes. Yes, she said simply. James's face lit up with a smile that transformed his entire expression. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you. Not because I'm grateful, not because it makes sense, but because I love you and I want to spend the rest of my life choosing you every single day. James stood and pulled her into his arms, holding her tight against him. We should ask Lily what she thinks, Elena said against his shoulder. Already did, James admitted sheepishly. Elena pulled back to look at him. You what? Last week when you were working late. I asked her how she would feel if I became her stepdad officially. And what did she say? James grinned. She said it was about time because she was tired of having to explain to her friends why her mom's boyfriend lived in the same house but wasn't married to her. Elena laughed, picturing her pragmatic 7-year-old daughter cutting straight to the heart of the matter. She also said she wanted to help pick out your ring, James added. You two have been planning this behind my back? Just a little. We wanted to make sure we got it right. Elena shook her head, but she was smiling. What am I going to do with the two of you? Love us, hopefully. That's not going to be a problem. The next morning, Elena woke up to the sound of excited whispering in the hallway. She found Lily and James huddled together outside the bedroom door, clearly plotting something. What are you two up to? She asked, crossing her arms and trying to look stern. Lily grinned and held up her hand, revealing a small velvet box. James said I could help give you the ring. Elena looked at James, who shrugged with a smile. She insisted on being part of the official proposal. But I thought you already? That was the pre-proposal, Lily said seriously. This is the real one. Elena watched in amazement as her daughter handed the ring box to James, who then got down on one knee right there in the hallway. Elena Martinez, he said formally, will you marry me and make me the luckiest man in the world? And will you marry us and make us a real family? Lily added, bouncing on her toes with excitement. Elena looked down at the two most important people in her world and felt her heart swell with so much love it almost hurt. "Yes," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "Yes to both of you." James slipped the ring onto her finger, a simple, elegant solitaire that caught the morning light beautifully. Lily immediately grabbed Elena's hand to examine it. "It's perfect," Lily declared. "James, you did good." "I had excellent help," James said, ruffling Lily's hair. Elena admired the ring for a moment, then looked at her small, unconventional family. A year ago, she had been a desperate single mother facing the unthinkable. Now she was engaged to a man who loved her daughter as much as she did, planning a future that seemed almost too good to be true. "When should we have the wedding?" she asked. "Tomorrow?" Lily suggested hopefully. Elena laughed. "Maybe we should plan it for a little longer than that." "How about spring?" James suggested. "That would give us time to plan something nice." "Spring sounds perfect," Elena agreed. The rest of the morning was spent making lists and dreaming about wedding details. Lily had strong opinions about flowers and insisted that Chester the golden retriever should be included in the ceremony somehow. James listened to all of her suggestions with the same serious attention he gave to business meetings. As Elena watched them debate the merits of different wedding cake flavors, she realized that this was what happiness looked like. Not the dramatic, overwhelming kind of happiness from movies, but the quiet, steady kind that grew stronger every day. The kind that was built on shared morning routines and inside jokes and the comfortable silence that came from really knowing someone. Her phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. It was Dr. Peterson. "Elena, I wanted to give you Lily's latest test results." Elena felt the familiar flutter of anxiety that still came with medical calls, even though Lily had been in remission for months. "Everything's fine," Dr. Peterson said quickly, apparently sensing her concern. "Better than fine, actually. Her latest blood work shows no signs of cancer cells, and all her other indicators are completely normal. At this point, I'm comfortable moving her to yearly checkups instead of quarterly ones." Elena sank into a chair, overwhelmed with relief and gratitude. "Dr. Peterson, I can't thank you enough for everything you've done for us." "You don't need to thank me. That new treatment protocol saved Lily's life, not me. She's a remarkable little girl, Elena. You should be very proud." After she hung up, Elena sat for a moment absorbing the news. Yearly checkups meant Lily was officially considered cured. The nightmare that had dominated their lives for so long was finally, truly over. "Good news?" James asked, appearing in the doorway. "The best news. Lily only needs yearly checkups now. She's officially cured." James closed his eyes for a moment, and Elena could see the relief washing over him. "You know what this means?" he said. "What?" "It means we can stop looking over our shoulders. It means we can make long-term plans without wondering if we'll be able to keep them. It means Lily gets to grow up." Elena felt tears threatening again. "It means we won. We definitely won." That evening they celebrated with Lily's favorite dinner and a cake from the bakery down the street. As Elena watched her daughter blow out the candles on what had become an impromptu celebration cake, she marveled at how normal this all felt. A year ago, she couldn't have imagined sitting around a dinner table with her healthy daughter and the man she was going to marry, making plans for a future that felt secure and bright. "What did you wish for?" James asked Lily as she finished with the candles. Lily looked thoughtful for a moment. "I wish that we could always be this happy." Elena reached over and squeezed her daughter's hand. "I think that's a very good wish. Do you think it will come true?" Elena looked around the table at her small family, at the man who had changed everything for them, at her daughter who was healthy and whole and full of dreams for the future. "I think," Elena said, "that sometimes the best wishes are the ones that have already come true." The wedding planning process revealed sides of both James and Lily that Elena had never seen before. James, who could negotiate million-dollar business deals without breaking a sweat, became anxious about flower arrangements and seating charts. Lily, meanwhile, appointed herself the wedding's creative director and had strong opinions about everything from the color of the napkins to the style of Elena's dress. "Absolutely not," Lily said firmly, shaking her head at the third dress Elena had tried on. They were at an upscale bridal shop downtown, and Lily was sitting in a plush chair like a tiny fashion critic. "What's wrong with this one?" Elena asked, turning to look at herself in the three-way mirror. "It's too puffy. You look like a cupcake." The sales associate tried to hide her smile. "Perhaps something more fitted?" "Yes," Lily nodded seriously. "My mom has a nice shape. The dress should show that." Elena felt her cheeks flush. "Lily, sweetheart, maybe we should focus on what I like." But James should think you look pretty too, Lily said logically. And he likes how you look in your blue dress at home. Elena paused, considering this. James had indeed complimented her several times when she wore a particular blue dress that was fitted through the bodice and flowed gently from the waist. She has a point, the sales associate said diplomatically. Let me find something similar to the style she's describing. 20 minutes later, Elena stood in front of the mirror wearing a dress that made her breath catch. It was simple but elegant, with delicate lace detailing and a silhouette that was both classic and flattering. That's the one, Lily announced with satisfaction. James is going to love it. Elena had to admit her daughter was right. The dress felt like her, not too formal, not trying to be something she wasn't, but beautiful in its simplicity. Are you sure? Elena asked, turning to see the back in the mirror. I'm sure. You look like a princess but not a fairy tale princess. Like a real princess. Elena smiled at her daughter's distinction. A real princess? Yeah. Like someone who could be a princess but also take care of people and make good decisions and stuff. The sales associate looked charmed. I think that might be the best compliment I've ever heard for a bride. As they left the bridal shop, Elena realized that Lily's involvement in the wedding planning was about more than just wanting to help. It was her way of making sure she was included in this new phase of their family, of having some control over the changes happening in her life. Lily, Elena said as they drove home, how do you really feel about me marrying James? Lily was quiet for a moment, looking out the window at the passing scenery. I like James a lot, she said finally. And I like how happy you are when he's around. But sometimes I worry that things will change too much. Like maybe you won't need me as much anymore because you'll have James. Elena pulled over into a parking lot and turned to face her daughter fully. Lily, look at me. Nothing will ever change how much I love you or how much I need you in my life. You're my daughter, and that relationship is completely different from what I have with James. He doesn't replace you, he just makes our family bigger. Promise? I promise. In fact, I have an idea. What if, during the wedding ceremony, we include a part where James and I both make promises to you? So it's not just about us getting married, but about all three of us becoming a family officially. Lily's face lit up. Really? I could be part of the ceremony? Absolutely. What do you think about that? I think that's the best idea ever. When they got home, Elena found James in the kitchen attempting to cook dinner. Given that his usual culinary efforts extended to heating up takeout containers, this was an ambitious undertaking. How did the dress shopping go? He asked, looking up from what appeared to be a cookbook. We found the perfect dress, Elena said. And Lily has a new idea for the ceremony. Elena explained Lily's suggestion about including promises to her in their wedding vows. James listened thoughtfully, then knelt down to Lily's eye level. What kind of promises would you want us to make? He asked seriously. Lily considered this carefully. Promise that we'll always be a family even when things get hard. Promise that you'll help take care of me if I get sick again. Promise that you'll teach me things like how to ride a bike and do math homework. James looked touched. Those are very good promises. I can definitely make all of those. And promise that you'll love my mom forever, because she deserves to be loved forever. Elena felt tears spring to her eyes. Sometimes Lily's wisdom caught her completely off guard. That's the easiest promise I'll ever make, James said softly. Over the next few weeks, wedding plans came together with surprising ease. They decided on a small ceremony in the backyard of their home, with just a few close friends and colleagues. Elena's sister would fly in from California, and James's parents would come from Chicago. Lily insisted on inviting her teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, who had been especially supportive during her illness. It should be about family, Elena said as they finalized the guest list. The people who really matter to us. Speaking of family, James said carefully, there's something I need to tell you about my parents. Elena looked up from the catering menu they had been reviewing. What about them? They're traditional. They might have questions about how quickly we're moving about our situation. Elena understood immediately. They don't know about the arrangement we made. No. And I don't think they need to. It's not their business and it's not really relevant to who we are now. Elena agreed, but she couldn't help feeling nervous about meeting James's parents. What if they disapproved of her? What if they thought she was taking advantage of their son's wealth? They're going to love you, James said, seeming to read her thoughts. How could they not? Because I'm not exactly what they probably expected for their successful son. Single mother, no college degree, financial problems? James took her hands in his. Elena, listen to me. You are intelligent, strong, kind, and beautiful. You're an amazing mother who would do anything for her child. You make me happier than I've ever been in my life. Anyone who can't see how lucky I am to have you doesn't deserve to be part of our lives." Elena felt some of her anxiety ease. What if they ask how we met? How we got together? We tell them the truth. We met at work, we got to know each other over time, and we fell in love. All of that is true. Elena nodded, knowing he was right. Their relationship might have started in an unusual way, but what they had built together was real and honest. The week before the wedding, Elena was surprised by how calm she felt. She had expected to be nervous or overwhelmed, but instead she felt a deep sense of rightness about everything that was happening. She was folding laundry in the bedroom when James appeared in the doorway holding an envelope. "This came for you today," he said, his expression puzzled. Elena looked at the return address and felt her stomach drop. It was from her ex-husband, Lily's biological father, who had walked out on them when Lily was 2 years old. "What does he want?" James asked, noticing her reaction. Elena opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a short letter and what appeared to be legal documents. "He wants to sign away his parental rights," Elena said, scanning the papers. "He says he heard through mutual friends that I'm getting married and he thinks it would be better for everyone if my new husband could adopt Lily officially." James sat down beside her on the bed. "How do you feel about that?" Elena read through the letter again, trying to process her emotions. Her ex-husband had never been involved in Lily's life, had never paid child support, had never even sent a birthday card. But somehow, having him officially sever the connection felt significant. "I think," Elena said slowly, "that it might be a good thing. Lily doesn't even remember him. You're the only father figure she's ever known. Would you want me to adopt her? Officially, I mean." Elena looked at him, this man who had been more of a father to Lily in the past year than her biological father had ever been. "Would you want to?" "Elena, I love that little girl like she's my own daughter. If you're comfortable with it, I would be honored to adopt her." Elena felt tears threatening. She would love that. "She's been calling you her dad to her friends at school." "She has. Didn't you know?" She told her teacher that her dad helped her with her science project last week. James looked stunned. "I had no idea." "James, you are her dad in every way that matters. Biology is just paperwork." That evening, they sat Lily down to discuss the adoption possibility. Elena explained it in simple terms, emphasizing that it was completely Lily's choice. "So James would officially be my dad?" Lily asked. "If that's what you want," Elena said. Lily looked at James seriously. "Do you want to be my dad officially?" "More than anything," James said quietly. "And I would have your last name?" "If you wanted to. You could be Lily Sterling instead of Lily Martinez." Lily tried out the name silently, apparently testing how it sounded. "Lily Sterling," she said finally. "I like it. It sounds like someone important." Elena laughed. "You are someone important, sweetheart." "I know. But now I'll sound important too." The adoption paperwork was filed the week before the wedding, with the understanding that it would be finalized shortly after they returned from their honeymoon. Elena had initially protested the idea of a honeymoon, worrying about leaving Lily so soon after the wedding, but James had convinced her that they needed some time alone together as a married couple. "My parents are excited about having a week with their new granddaughter," he had pointed out. "And Lily is excited about staying with them. It's a win for everyone." 2 days before the wedding, James's parents arrived from Chicago. Elena had been nervous about meeting them, but her anxiety proved unfounded. Robert Sterling was a quieter version of his son, while Margaret Sterling was warm and immediately charmed by Lily. "She's delightful," Margaret told Elena privately while they worked together in the kitchen preparing dinner. "James clearly adores her. She adores him too. He's been wonderful with her." Margaret studied Elena's face carefully. "You know, I was worried when James told us he was getting married. It seemed so sudden and he's always been so focused on work. But watching him with you and Lily, I can see why he fell in love. You've made him happy in a way I haven't seen since he was a child." Elena felt warmth spread through her chest. "He's made us happy too. I can't imagine our lives without him anymore." "Good. That's how it should be." That evening, Elena tucked Lily into bed and found her daughter unusually thoughtful. "Are you excited about tomorrow?" Elena asked. "Yes, but also a little sad." "Sad? Why?" "Because after tomorrow it won't just be you and me anymore. I mean, I love James and I want him to be part of our family. But you and me, we've been through a lot together, just the two of us." Elena felt her heart squeeze. "Oh, sweetheart. Come here." She pulled Lily into her arms and held her close. "You're right that we've been through a lot together. We survived some really scary times, didn't we? Lily nodded against her shoulder. And we survived them because we had each other. That bond we have, that connection between us, that's never going to change. James isn't taking that away from us. He's just adding to our family. Promise? I promise. You know what I think. What? I think having James as part of our family is going to make the bond between you and me even stronger. Because now we have someone else who loves us both, someone else who wants to protect us and take care of us. Lily pulled back to look at Elena's face. Like having backup? Elena smiled. Exactly like having backup. I like that idea. Me too, baby. Me too. As Elena turned off Lily's light and headed to her own room, she realized that tomorrow would be the beginning of a completely new chapter in their lives. But instead of feeling scared about leaving the old chapter behind, she felt ready. Ready to move forward, ready to build something new, ready to trust in the love that had brought them to this point. Tomorrow she would marry the man who had saved her daughter's life and somehow saved hers too. Tomorrow they would officially become a family. And tomorrow she would start the rest of her life knowing that sometimes the most beautiful love stories begin in the most unexpected ways. Elena woke up on her wedding day to the sound of rain pattering against the bedroom windows. For a moment her heart sank. They had planned an outdoor ceremony in the backyard, and the weather forecast had promised clear skies. Then she heard Lily's laughter from downstairs, followed by James's voice and the deeper tones of his father. The sound of her family filled her with warmth that made the gray weather seem irrelevant. A soft knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. Elena? It's Margaret. May I come in? Elena sat up in bed, pulling her robe around her. Of course. James's mother entered carrying a cup of coffee and wearing a knowing smile. I thought you might need this, she said, handing Elena the coffee. And I wanted to check on you. How are you feeling? Elena took a grateful sip of coffee. Surprisingly calm, actually. Though I'm a little worried about the rain. Margaret waved dismissively. Oh, don't worry about that. We've moved everything into the living room. It's going to be beautiful and intimate. Sometimes the best weddings are the ones that don't go exactly as planned. Elena smiled, remembering that nothing about her relationship with James had gone as planned either. Can I tell you something? Margaret said, settling into the chair by the window. Of course. When Robert and I got married 35 years ago, it poured rain just like this. I was devastated because I had dreamed of an outdoor wedding. But you know what? Some of our wedding photos are of us laughing in the rain and they're my favorites. The weather didn't matter. What mattered was that we were choosing to spend our lives together. Elena felt touched by the story. Thank you for telling me that. James is lucky to have found you, Margaret continued. I can see how much you love him and more importantly, I can see how much you love that little girl. Family isn't always about biology, Elena. Sometimes it's about choice, and the three of you have chosen each other beautifully. After Margaret left, Elena took a shower and began getting ready. She had decided to do her own hair and makeup, keeping everything simple and natural. As she applied her lipstick, she caught sight of her engagement ring in the mirror and smiled, remembering the morning James and Lily had surprised her with the official proposal. Another knock on her door revealed Lily, dressed in her flower girl dress, a soft yellow that had been her own choice. Mommy, you look beautiful, Lily said, climbing onto the bed. Thank you, sweetheart. You look pretty beautiful yourself. James sent me up to give you this, Lily said, producing a small wrapped box from behind her back. Elena opened it to find a delicate necklace with a pendant that held two small stones, Lily's birthstone and her own. He said it's so you can keep both of us close to your heart today, Lily explained. Elena felt tears threaten her carefully applied makeup. Will you help me put it on? As Lily carefully fastened the necklace, Elena caught sight of both of them in the mirror, her daughter, healthy and glowing, helping her prepare for the wedding that would officially make them a family of three. Are you ready? Lily asked. Elena took one last look at herself in the mirror. The dress fit perfectly, the necklace caught the light beautifully, and most importantly she felt like herself, not trying to be someone she wasn't, but simply Elena, ready to marry the man she loved. I'm ready, she said. Downstairs, Elena could hear the soft music they had chosen beginning to play. The ceremony was small enough that they didn't need a formal processional, but they had decided that Lily should walk down first to take her place beside James, then Elena would join them. Elena waited at the top of the stairs as Lily made her way down, carrying a small bouquet and walking with the careful dignity of a 7-year-old taking her role very seriously. Through the stair railings, Elena could see their small group of guests gathered in the living room, which had been transformed with flowers and candles. Then it was her turn. As she walked down the stairs, Elena's eyes found James immediately. He was standing at the makeshift altar they had set up in front of the fireplace, wearing a dark suit that made his eyes look even more intense than usual. When he saw her, his face transformed with a smile that made Elena feel like the most beautiful woman in the world. Lily was standing beside him, beaming with pride. Elena realized that this was exactly how it should be, not her walking toward James alone, but walking toward both of them, toward the family they had already built together. When Elena reached them, James took her hands in his, and she could feel the slight tremor in his fingers that told her he was more nervous than he appeared. The officiant, a friend of James's who had gotten ordained online specifically for their wedding, smiled at the three of them. "We're gathered here today not just to witness the marriage of Elena and James, but to celebrate the formation of a new family," he began. "Elena, James, and Lily have asked to include special promises to each other as part of this ceremony, because they understand that marriage, when it involves children, is about more than just two people. It's about the family you're choosing to create together." Elena felt her heart swell as James turned to face Lily first. "Lily," he said, his voice steady but emotional, "I promise to love you and protect you and be the best father I can be to you. I promise to help you with your homework and teach you to ride a bike and be there for all the important moments in your life. I promise to love your mother with all my heart, because that's what you deserve, a family filled with love." Lily looked up at him with shining eyes. "I promise to be the best daughter I can be," she said in her clear, sweet voice. "I promise to listen to you and Mom, and to always remember that families take care of each other." Then James turned to Elena, his eyes bright with unshed tears. "Elena," he said, "a year ago I thought I knew what I wanted from life. I thought success was measured in dollars and achievements. But you and Lily taught me that the most important success is love. You taught me what it means to be part of a family, what it means to have people who matter more than anything else in the world." Elena felt tears sliding down her cheeks, not caring about her makeup anymore. "I promise to love you and cherish you and support your dreams. I promise to be the partner you deserve and the father Lily deserves. I promise that no matter what challenges we face, we'll face them together." Elena squeezed his hands, finding her voice through her tears. "James, you saved my daughter's life, but you did more than that, you saved mine too. You showed me that love doesn't always come in the package we expect, but that doesn't make it any less real or precious. You chose us when you didn't have to, and you've loved us when we needed it most." She turned to include Lily in her words. "I promise to love both of you with everything I have. I promise that our family will always be built on honesty and trust and the kind of love that makes us stronger together than we could ever be apart." The officiant pronounced them husband and wife, and as James kissed Elena, she could hear Lily clapping enthusiastically beside them. But the moment that would stay with Elena forever came next, when James knelt down and gathered Lily into their embrace, the three of them holding each other as their small group of family and friends cheered around them. Later, as they sat around the dining room table sharing wedding cake and stories, Elena caught James's eye across the room. He was listening to his father tell a story about his own wedding day, but his attention kept drifting to her and Lily. Elena's sister pulled her aside during the cake cutting. "I have to admit," she said quietly, "when you first told me about James I was worried. Everything happened so fast and you'd been through so much with Lily being sick. I thought maybe you were just grateful to him for helping." "And now?" Elena asked. "Now I can see that this is the real deal. The way he looks at you, the way he is with Lily, this is a man who genuinely loves his family." Elena smiled, watching as James helped Lily cut an extra-large piece of cake. "He does love us, and we love him. It might have started in an unusual way, but what we have now is completely real." As the afternoon wore on, Elena found herself treasuring small moments. Margaret teaching Lily a card game at the kitchen table, Robert and James discussing plans for building Lily a treehouse, her sister helping with dishes while sharing stories about their childhood. This was what family looked like, Elena realized. Not perfect, not without complications, but full of love and laughter and the comfortable chaos that came from people who genuinely cared about each other. That evening, after their guest had gone home and Lily was in bed, Elena and James sat together on the couch in their living room, still decorated with wedding flowers. "How does it feel to be Mrs. Sterling?" James asked, playing with her wedding ring. "It feels right," Elena said honestly. "Like something I didn't know I was missing until I found it. I keep thinking about what you said in your vows. About love not coming in the package we expect." Elena turned to face him fully. "Do you regret how we started? Really, honestly?" James was quiet for a moment, considering the question seriously. "I regret that you had to go through such a scary time with Lily. I regret that you felt like you had no other choices. But I can't regret the path that led us here, because here is exactly where I want to be. Elena leaned against his shoulder, feeling the complete contentment that came from being exactly where she belonged. Besides, James added with a smile in his voice, if we hadn't started the way we did, we might never have gotten to know each other at all. I might have stayed your distant boss forever, and you might have thought I was just another corporate executive with no heart. And instead, we found out that sometimes the most unexpected beginnings lead to the most beautiful endings. Elena lifted her head to look at him. Is this an ending? It feels more like a beginning to me. James cupped her face in his hands, his thumb tracing over her cheek. You're right. This is definitely a beginning. The beginning of the rest of our lives. As they headed upstairs to their bedroom, their married bedroom now, Elena paused to check on Lily. Her daughter was sleeping peacefully, her face relaxed and healthy, surrounded by stuffed animals and the security of knowing she was loved and safe. Thank you, Elena whispered to James as they stood in Lily's doorway. For what? For giving us this. All of this. The chance to be a real family. James wrapped his arms around her from behind, and they stood together watching their daughter sleep. Thank you for trusting me with both of you, he whispered back. As they finally went to bed on their wedding night, Elena thought about the journey that had brought them to this moment. It had started with desperation and fear, with impossible choices and unthinkable solutions. But it had led to love, real, deep, lasting love that had grown stronger every day. Tomorrow they would start their honeymoon. Next week, the adoption papers would be finalized. Next month, Lily would have her first yearly checkup as a completely healthy child. And for all the months and years after that, they would be a family, not because of circumstances or necessity, but because they had chosen each other. Elena fell asleep in her husband's arms, listening to the rain that had blessed their wedding day, knowing that she had never been happier or more grateful for the unexpected turns that life could take. The honeymoon in Napa Valley was everything Elena hadn't known she needed. For 5 days she and James existed in a bubble of wine tastings, long conversations, and the luxury of time that belonged only to them. Elena had worried about leaving Lily, but their daily phone calls revealed that her daughter was having the time of her life with her new grandparents, learning to play chess with Robert and helping Margaret with her garden. She's teaching us as much as we're teaching her, Margaret reported during one call. Yesterday she informed us that we were loading the dishwasher incorrectly and showed us a more efficient method. Elena laughed, picturing her practical daughter reorganizing her new grandparents' kitchen. She gets that from you, James said after Elena hung up the phone. They were sitting on the balcony of their hotel room, watching the sunset paint the vineyards in shades of gold and purple. Gets what from me? The need to take care of people. The instinct to make everything work better. Elena considered this. Is that what I do? Elena, you've been taking care of everyone around you for so long that you probably don't even notice it anymore. You took care of Lily through her illness, you take care of your coworkers at the office, you take care of me. I like taking care of you, Elena said, settling closer to him on the small love seat. I know you do. But when was the last time someone took care of you? Elena was quiet, thinking. The question made her realize how long it had been since she had felt truly cared for, rather than being the one doing the caring. I'm going to take care of you now, James continued. For the rest of our lives, you're not going to have to carry everything alone anymore. Elena felt tears prick her eyes. I'm not used to that. I know. But you'll learn. That night, they made love with a tenderness that was different from before, not desperate or urgent, but with the slow certainty of people who knew they had all the time in the world. I love you, Mrs. Sterling, James whispered against her hair afterward. I love you too, Mr. Sterling. Elena lay awake for a while after James fell asleep, marveling at how safe she felt. For years, she had carried the weight of responsibility alone, always alert for the next crisis, the next problem that would need solving. Now, for the first time in longer than she could remember, she felt like she could truly rest. When they returned home, they found Lily and James's parents in the backyard, putting the finishing touches on what appeared to be the foundation for a treehouse. Surprise! Lily called out, running toward them with dirt on her hands and joy on her face. We started building my treehouse. Elena looked at the carefully measured and marked posts, clearly the work of Robert's engineering background. Grandpa Robert knows everything about building, Lily continued breathlessly. And Grandma Margaret taught me how to make chocolate chip cookies from scratch. Elena hugged her daughter close, breathing in the familiar scent of her shampoo mixed with fresh air and adventure. Did you have a good time without us? Elena asked. The best time. But I missed you. Did you have fun on your honeymoon? We did, James said, ruffling Lily's hair. But we missed you too. That evening, after James's parents had returned to their hotel and Lily was in bed, Elena found herself feeling slightly overwhelmed by the transition back to regular life. The honeymoon had been a beautiful respite, but now they had to figure out how to be a married couple in the context of their daily routine. Everything okay? James asked, finding her standing in the kitchen staring at the mail that had accumulated while they were gone. Just adjusting, Elena said. The honeymoon was perfect, but real life feels different now. James nodded, understanding. Different how? Elena struggled to put her feelings into words. I keep expecting something to go wrong. Like this is all too good to be true, and any minute the other shoe is going to drop. James set down the suitcase he had been carrying and gave her his full attention. Elena, what would convince you that this is real? That we're really okay? Elena thought about it. Time, I guess. Time where nothing goes wrong, where we just get to be normal. Then that's what we'll have. Normal. Whatever that looks like for us. Their version of normal, it turned out, was better than Elena had dared to hope. James left for work each morning with a kiss goodbye for both her and Lily. Elena had negotiated a more flexible schedule that allowed her to work from home 2 days a week, giving her more time with Lily and more time to focus on the things she enjoyed. The adoption paperwork was finalized 3 weeks after their wedding. Elena would never forget the look on Lily's face when the judge made it official. So James is really my dad now? Lily had asked the judge directly. He really is, the judge confirmed with a smile. And my name is really Lily Sterling? It really is. Lily had turned to James with a grin. Hi, Dad. James had to excuse himself to the hallway for a moment to compose himself. Fall arrived with the kind of golden weather that made everything feel possible. Lily started 3rd grade with the confidence of a child who knew she was loved and supported. Her teacher, Mrs. Chin, commented on how well-adjusted and happy Lily seemed. She talks about her family a lot, Mrs. Chin told Elena during a parent conference. Her dad helping with science projects, family movie nights, building the treehouse. She clearly feels very secure. Elena smiled, thinking about how much their lives had changed since this time last year. It was during one of their regular dinner conversations that Lily surprised them both with an announcement. I want to have a baby brother or sister, she said matter-of-factly, cutting her chicken into precise pieces. Elena nearly choked on her water. What? A baby. I think our family needs a baby. James and Elena looked at each other across the table. They had talked about the possibility of having children together, but in abstract terms, as something they might consider in the future. Why do you think we need a baby? James asked carefully. Lily considered this seriously. Well, Sarah at school has a baby sister and she says it's really fun most of the time. And I think I would be a good big sister because I'm responsible and I know how to take care of people. You would definitely be a good big sister, Elena agreed. But babies are a big responsibility. They need a lot of attention and care. I know. But we have enough love for a baby, don't we? Elena felt her heart skip. Out of the mouths of babes. We do have enough love, James said quietly, his eyes meeting Elena's. But having a baby is a decision that Mom and I would need to make together, and we'd need to make sure the timing is right. When would the timing be right? Lily asked. Well, we'd want to make sure you're settled and happy, and that Mom and I have been married long enough to feel ready for such a big change. Lily nodded sagely. How long is long enough? Elena smiled. I don't think there's a rule about that, sweetheart. It's different for every family. Later that night, after Lily was asleep, Elena and James found themselves having the conversation they hadn't expected to have quite so soon. How do you feel about what Lily said? James asked. Elena curled up beside him on the couch, considering the question. Honestly? The idea doesn't scare me the way I thought it would. A year ago, I could barely handle taking care of one child. Now I feel like we could handle anything together. James was quiet for a moment. I've never really thought about having kids before. I mean, I knew I wanted them someday, but it was always theoretical. With Lily, it happened so naturally that I didn't have time to overthink it. And now that you have had time to think about it? Now I think about what it would mean to have a child with you. A baby that's part of both of us, that Lily could help raise and protect and love. Elena felt warmth spread through her chest. Are we really talking about this? I think we are. Is that crazy? Elena looked around their living room at the photos of their wedding day on the mantle, at Lily's backpack by the door, at the life they had built together. Maybe. But the best things in our lives have been a little crazy. So we're not saying no? We're not saying no. But we're also not saying yes right now. We're saying, maybe. Someday soon. James kissed the top of her head. I love our maybe someday. The holidays that year were the first Elena had ever celebrated without worry. In previous years, Christmas had been a source of stress, trying to afford presents for Lily, managing her expectations, making magic happen on a budget that barely covered necessities. This year was different. They bought a 12-foot Christmas tree and spent an entire Saturday decorating it while holiday music played and snow fell outside. Lily was in charge of placing the angel on top, standing on James's shoulders to reach the highest branch. Perfect, Elena declared, stepping back to admire their work. It's the most beautiful tree ever, Lily announced with satisfaction. I agree, James said, but he was looking at Elena and Lily, not the tree. On Christmas morning, Elena woke up to the sound of Lily's excited whispers in the hallway. Can we wake them up now? She was asking someone. Let's give them 5 more minutes, came Margaret's voice. James's parents had stayed through the holidays, and Elena had grown to love having them as part of their extended family. Elena nudged James awake. I think we're about to be invaded by a very excited 7-year-old. Best way to wake up on Christmas morning, James murmured, pulling her closer for a quick kiss before their peaceful moment was interrupted. Mom? Dad? Santa came. Lily burst through the door, followed by Margaret carrying a cup of coffee and wearing an apologetic smile. She's been awake since 5, Margaret explained. I've been trying to contain her enthusiasm. The morning was a blur of wrapping paper and delighted squeals. Lily loved everything she received, but Elena noticed that her favorite gift seemed to be a simple photo album that James had put together, filled with pictures from the past year: Lily's recovery, their wedding, family moments that had been captured along the way. Look, Mom, Lily said, settling beside Elena on the couch with the album. It's the story of our family. Elena flipped through the pages, seeing their journey documented in photographs. There was Lily in the hospital, thin but smiling. Their wedding day, all 3 of them laughing in the rain. Lily's first day back at school. Family dinners, bedtime stories, ordinary moments that looked extraordinary when viewed as part of their larger story. It really is, Elena agreed, her throat tight with emotion. That afternoon, while Lily played with her new toys and Margaret helped Robert assemble a complicated science kit, Elena found James standing at the kitchen window, looking out at their backyard where the treehouse was finally nearing completion. Penny for your thoughts, she said, sliding her arms around his waist from behind. Just thinking about how much has changed since last Christmas. Elena rested her cheek against his back. Good changes? The best changes. Last Christmas I spent alone in my apartment, wondering if this was all there was to life. Work, success, but nothing that really mattered. He turned in her arms to face her. This Christmas I'm surrounded by family. I have a wife I love, a daughter who calls me dad, parents who are thrilled to be grandparents again. I have everything I never knew I wanted. We all do, Elena said softly. Elena, I want to ask you something, and I want you to know there's no pressure either way. Elena felt her pulse quicken. Okay. How would you feel about trying to have a baby this year? Elena stared at him, her heart racing. Are you serious? Completely serious. I've been thinking about what Lily said about our family needing a baby. And I've been thinking about what it would mean to have a child with you, to watch you be pregnant, to experience all of that together. Elena felt tears spring to her eyes. James? I know it's a big decision. I know there are practical considerations. But Elena, I can't think of anything I want more than to have a baby with you. Elena looked past him through the window, where she could see Lily playing in the snow with her grandfather, both of them laughing as they attempted to build a snowman. Yes, she said quietly. Yes. Yes, I want to have a baby with you. I want to give Lily a sibling, and I want to see what a child that comes from both of us would be like. James spun her around in the kitchen, both of them laughing. Should we tell Lily? He asked. Let's wait until we know for sure. But James? Yeah. I have a feeling she's going to be the best big sister in the world. That night, after everyone had gone to bed and the house was quiet except for the soft sounds of their sleeping family, Elena lay in James's arms thinking about the future. A year ago, she had been desperate and alone, facing the possibility of losing the most important person in her world. Now she was thinking about bringing another person into that world, about expanding their family, about all the beautiful possibilities that lay ahead. I love you, she whispered into the darkness. I love you too, came James's sleepy reply. Elena smiled and closed her eyes, already dreaming about the family they were building together. Spring brought unexpected news that changed everything once again. Elena had been feeling tired and slightly nauseated for a few days, but she attributed it to a stomach bug that had been going around Lily's school. It wasn't until she missed her period that the possibility occurred to her. She took the pregnancy test on a Saturday morning while James and Lily were outside working on the treehouse. Elena stared at the 2 pink lines, her heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and disbelief. They had only been trying for 3 months. She sat on the bathroom floor for several minutes, processing the reality that she was going to have James's baby. After all the struggles with Lily's illness, after all the uncertainty and fear, she was going to bring new life into their family. A knock on the bathroom door interrupted her thoughts. "Mom? Are you okay in there?" Lily's voice came through the door. "I'm fine, sweetheart. I'll be out in a minute." Elena quickly hid the pregnancy test and opened the door to find Lily looking concerned. "You've been in there a long time. Are you sick?" Elena knelt down to Lily's eye level, studying her daughter's face. In a few months, Lily wouldn't be an only child anymore. The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. "I'm not sick, baby. Just thinking about some things." "What kind of things?" Elena smiled, unable to contain her joy completely. "Good things. Very good things." That evening, after Lily was in bed, Elena found James in his study, working on some papers from the office. "James, can you come here for a minute?" He looked up from his laptop, noting something in her tone. "Everything okay?" "More than okay. Come sit with me." Elena led him to the living room couch, her hands shaking slightly with nerves and excitement. "I have something to tell you," she said, taking his hands in hers. James studied her face, clearly trying to read her expression. "Good news or bad news?" "The best news." Elena reached into her pocket and pulled out the pregnancy test, placing it in James's hands. James stared at it for a long moment, his expression moving from confusion to understanding to pure joy. Are we? "We're having a baby," Elena confirmed, her voice thick with emotion. James set the test aside and pulled Elena into his arms, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. "I can't believe it," he whispered against her hair. "We're really having a baby." "We really are." James pulled back to look at her face. "How do you feel? Are you happy? Scared?" "Both. Definitely both. But mostly happy." They sat together in comfortable silence for a few minutes, absorbing the magnitude of the news. "When do we tell Lily?" James asked. "I was thinking we should wait until after the first doctor's appointment, make sure everything looks good." "But James, she's going to be so excited. She's going to be the best big sister." Elena smiled, picturing Lily's reaction to the news. "She's going to want to name the baby. And she's going to have very strong opinions about how we do everything. Are you ready for that? 2 kids asking for your attention?" James looked at Elena with such love and certainty that it took her breath away. "Elena, a year and a half ago I didn't even know what I was missing. Now I have you and Lily, and soon I'll have another child to love and protect. I've never been more ready for anything in my life." The first doctor's appointment confirmed what they already knew. Elena was healthy, the baby was developing normally, and she was about 8 weeks along. "Everything looks perfect," Dr. Williams said, pointing to the tiny flicker on the ultrasound screen. "There's your baby's heartbeat." Elena felt tears spring to her eyes as she listened to the rapid flutter of their child's heart. James squeezed her hand, his own eyes bright with emotion. "The due date looks like early December," Dr. Williams continued. "A Christmas baby." Elena and James looked at each other and smiled. Their family seemed destined for Christmas miracles. That evening, they sat Lily down for what Elena knew would be one of the most important conversations of their daughter's life. "Lily, we have something very exciting to tell you," Elena began. Lily immediately perked up, clearly sensing something big was coming. "You know how you said you wanted a baby brother or sister?" Lily nodded eagerly. "Well," James said, unable to contain his smile, "you're going to get your wish. Mom is going to have a baby." Lily's eyes went wide. "Really? A real baby?" "A real baby," Elena confirmed. "You're going to be a big sister." Lily launched herself off the couch and into Elena's arms, nearly knocking her over with enthusiasm. When is the baby coming?" "In December around Christmas time," James said. "A Christmas baby?" Lily squealed. "That's the best present ever." Elena laughed, holding her daughter close. "So you're happy about this?" "I'm the happiest. Can I help pick out names? And clothes? And can I teach the baby things?" "You can help with all of that," Elena assured her. "Is it a boy or a girl?" "We don't know yet. We won't find out for a few more weeks." Lily pulled back to look at Elena's still flat stomach. "Hi baby," she said seriously. "This is your big sister Lily. I'm going to take really good care of you." Elena felt tears threatening again. "The baby is very lucky to have you as a big sister." The next few months passed in a blur of preparations and excitement. Elena's pregnancy progressed smoothly, though she found herself more tired than she had been with Lily. James took on more of the household responsibilities without being asked, and Lily appointed herself Elena's personal assistant, bringing her water and making sure she was comfortable. "The baby book says you need lots of rest," Lily announced one afternoon, appearing with a pillow and Elena's favorite blanket. "I'm going to make sure you get it." Elena marveled at how naturally Lily had taken to the idea of being a big sister. She read pregnancy books with the same intensity she had once applied to her favorite chapter books, and she had strong opinions about everything from nursery colors to baby names. "I think we should name the baby River if it's a boy and Sage if it's a girl," Lily announced over dinner one evening. "Those are very unique names," James said diplomatically. "They're nature names. The baby should have a nature name because we live near the mountains and we have a big backyard." Elena and James exchanged amused glances. They had been leaning toward more traditional names, but they were learning to navigate Lily's increasingly strong opinions about her future sibling. At 20 weeks they found out they were having a boy. Elena had been secretly hoping for a boy, thinking it might be easier for Lily to accept a brother rather than competition for her role as the daughter in the family. "A baby brother?" Lily exclaimed when they told her the news. "I can teach him how to climb trees and catch frogs." "He'll have to get a little bigger first," Elena laughed. "Babies can't climb trees right away." "I know that, Mom. I'm not silly. But when he's older, I'll teach him everything." Elena was 6 months pregnant when they received news that caught them completely off guard. James came home from work one evening looking unusually serious. "Elena, we need to talk," he said, his tone making her heart skip. "What's wrong?" Elena asked, immediately fearing the worst. "Nothing's wrong exactly. But I got some interesting news today." Elena sat down, her hand automatically going to her growing belly. "The company has been acquired," James continued. "A larger corporation bought us out." Elena felt confusion rather than alarm. "Is that bad?" "Not bad necessarily. But it means changes. The new owners want to keep me on, but they want me to relocate to their headquarters." Elena felt the bottom drop out of her world. "Relocate where?" "Seattle." Elena stared at him, trying to process what this would mean for their family. "When?" "They want me to start there in 3 months." 3 months. Elena would be 7 months pregnant, Lily would be in the middle of the school year, and they would have to leave the home and life they had built together. "James, I can't move when I'm 7 months pregnant. And Lily is finally settled in school, she has friends, she's happy here." James sat down beside her and took her hands. "I know. I've been thinking about this all day. What are our options?" "Well, I could turn down the offer and look for something else here. But Elena, it's a significant promotion and a substantial salary increase. It would set our family up financially for life." Elena felt the familiar weight of difficult choices settling on her shoulders. Just when everything had been going so well, life was throwing them another curveball. "What do you want to do?" she asked quietly. "I want whatever is best for our family. But I also want to be honest with you, this is the kind of opportunity that doesn't come along very often." Elena nodded, understanding the position he was in. "Can we have some time to think about it?" "Of course." I told them I needed to discuss it with my family. That night, Elena lay awake long after James had fallen asleep, her mind racing through possibilities and complications. Moving while pregnant would be challenging but not impossible. Lily would have to start over at a new school, but she was resilient and adaptable. They would be leaving behind the life they had built, but they could build a new one. The next morning, Elena found Lily in the kitchen eating cereal and reading a book about big sisters. "Lily, can we talk about something important?" Lily looked up, immediately sensing the seriousness in Elena's tone. Elena explained the situation in terms that Lily could understand, emphasizing that no decisions had been made yet. "So we might move away?" Lily asked. "We might. How would you feel about that?" Lily was quiet for a long moment, considering the question with the thoughtfulness that Elena had come to recognize as one of her daughter's best qualities. "Would we all move together? You and me and Dad and the baby?" "Yes, we would all stay together." "And Dad would have a really good job there?" "Yes." Lily nodded slowly. "I would miss my friends here. And my teacher. And my room." "I know, sweetheart. Those are all important things to think about. But we would make new friends, right? And I would still have you and Dad and the baby. Elena felt her heart squeeze with love for her wise daughter. That's right. Then I think we should do it. Dad's job is important and families stay together. Elena pulled Lily into a hug, marveling once again at her daughter's strength and maturity. That evening, Elena and James had a long conversation about their future. They talked about the practical aspects of moving, the challenges they would face, and the opportunities that would come with James's new position. I think we should do it, Elena said finally. It won't be easy, but when have we ever taken the easy path? James smiled. Are you sure? I'm sure. We've built a strong family, James. Strong enough to handle a big change like this. What about the baby being born in a new place? Babies are born everywhere. And maybe it will be good to start fresh in Seattle, just the four of us. James kissed her gently. I love you for being willing to take this leap with me. That's what families do, Elena said, echoing Lily's words from that morning. They stay together. As they began making plans for their move, Elena realized that this was just another chapter in their unconventional love story. They had started with an impossible situation and had found a way to make it work. They had built love out of necessity and had watched it grow into something beautiful and real. Now they were facing another challenge, another opportunity to prove that their family was strong enough to handle whatever life threw at them. Elena placed her hand on her growing belly, feeling their son move beneath her palm. In a few months he would be born in a new city, surrounded by new possibilities. Lily would start over at a new school, but she would do it with the confidence of a child who knew she was loved and supported. And Elena and James would continue building their life together, adapting and growing and choosing each other every day, no matter where that journey took them. The move to Seattle happened faster than any of them had anticipated. By the time Elena was 7 months pregnant, they were living in a beautiful house in a suburb outside the city, with views of Mount Rainier and enough space for their growing family. Lily had adapted to the change with remarkable resilience, though Elena knew it hadn't been easy for her. The new school was larger than her old one, and it had taken a few weeks for her to find her place among new classmates. I miss Mrs. Chen, Lily confided to Elena one evening as they unpacked boxes in what would become the baby's nursery. She understood about my math homework. I know, sweetheart. It's hard to leave people we care about. But your new teacher seems very nice too. Mrs. Patterson is okay. She's just different. Elena set down the box she was holding and sat on the floor beside Lily. Do you regret that we moved? Lily considered this seriously. Sometimes. But mostly I think it was the right thing to do. Dad is really happy with his new job, and this house is bigger, and the baby will have a nice room. Elena looked around the nursery, which James had painted a soft green color that worked for either a boy or girl. The room was nearly ready, with a crib that James had assembled himself and a rocking chair that had been Elena's one splurge for the new house. Are you excited about the baby coming soon? Elena asked. Really excited. But also a little nervous. Nervous about what? What if I don't know how to be a good big sister? What if the baby doesn't like me? Elena pulled Lily into her arms, mindful of her large belly between them. Lily, you're going to be an amazing big sister. You're kind and smart and caring. The baby is going to be so lucky to have you. Do you really think so? I know so. 2 weeks later, Elena went into labor 3 weeks early, in the middle of the night during a November snowstorm. James woke up to find Elena timing contractions with an app on her phone. Is it time? He asked, immediately alert. I think so. The contractions are 5 minutes apart and they're getting stronger. James jumped out of bed and began gathering the hospital bag they had packed weeks earlier. Should I wake up Lily? Not yet. Let's see how fast this progresses. But the baby had his own timeline. By the time they woke Lily and called James's parents to come stay with her, Elena's contractions were 3 minutes apart. The baby's coming early. Lily exclaimed, both excited and worried as Margaret arrived to take care of her. Just a little early, Elena assured her through a contraction. We'll call you as soon as he's born. The drive to the hospital was surreal, with snow falling heavily and Elena breathing through increasingly intense contractions. James held her hand whenever he wasn't shifting gears, his own breathing almost as labored as hers. You're doing great, he kept saying. We're almost there. Elena found herself thinking about Lily's birth, which she had gone through alone. This time she had James beside her, steady and supportive and just as nervous as she was. At the hospital things moved quickly. Elena was already 6 centimeters dilated when they arrived, and within 4 hours she was holding their son in her arms. He's perfect, James whispered, his voice thick with emotion as he looked at their baby for the first time. Elena gazed down at their son, taking in his tiny features and the shock of dark hair that looked just like his father's. He was smaller than Lily had been at birth, but the doctor assured them he was completely healthy. What should we call him? Elena asked softly. They had discussed names for months but had never quite settled on one. Looking at their son now, Elena realized that none of the names on their list seemed right. He looks like a... James paused, studying their baby's face. What did Lily suggest? River? Elena smiled, remembering their daughter's enthusiasm for nature names. River Sterling. It actually has a nice sound to it. River it is. When they called Lily to tell her about her brother's arrival, her excitement was infectious even over the phone. River, use my name. When can I meet him? This afternoon when visiting hours start, Elena promised. I can't wait. Grandma Margaret is making cookies to celebrate. That afternoon, Elena watched nervously as Lily approached the hospital bed where she was holding River. She had been worried about how Lily would react to actually meeting her brother, to seeing Elena holding another baby. But her fears proved unfounded. Lily climbed carefully onto the bed and peered at River with wonder. He's so tiny, she whispered. And he has Dad's hair. Would you like to hold him? Elena asked. Lily nodded eagerly. Elena carefully placed River in Lily's arms, showing her how to support his head. Hi River, Lily said softly. I'm your big sister Lily. I've been waiting for you for a long time. River opened his eyes at the sound of her voice, and Elena felt tears spring to her own eyes as she watched her two children meet for the first time. I think he likes me, Lily said with delight. I think he loves you already, James said, taking pictures with his phone. The next few weeks were a blur of sleepless nights, feeding schedules, and adjusting to life as a family of 4. Elena was surprised by how different this experience was from having Lily as a newborn. This time she wasn't alone and overwhelmed. James took the night feedings so Elena could sleep, and Lily helped with everything from diaper changes to entertaining River when he was fussy. You're such a good helper, Elena told Lily one afternoon as her daughter sang softly to River while Elena folded laundry. I like taking care of him, Lily said. He stops crying when I sing to him. Elena watched her children together and felt a deep sense of contentment. Their family felt complete now, balanced and happy in a way she hadn't expected. It was during one of these peaceful moments that Elena's phone rang with news that would shake their world once again. Elena, this is Dr. Peterson. Elena's blood went cold. She hadn't heard from Lily's oncologist since they had moved to Seattle. Dr. Peterson? Is everything okay? I'm calling because I received Lily's medical records request from her new doctor in Seattle. Elena, when was Lily's last blood test? Elena felt panic rising in her chest. We haven't done one yet. We were planning to schedule her yearly checkup soon. Why? Elena, I need you to get Lily to a doctor immediately. Her yearly blood work was due 2 months ago, and given her medical history, we can't afford to let it slide. Elena sank into a chair, her free hand going automatically to River, who was sleeping in his bouncer nearby. Do you think something's wrong? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't know. But Elena, with childhood leukemia, even in remission, regular monitoring is crucial. The longer we go without testing, the more risk we're taking. After Elena hung up, she sat in her living room staring at her children, Lily playing with her dolls, River sleeping peacefully, and felt the familiar terror she had thought was behind them forever. When James came home from work that evening, he found Elena pacing in the kitchen while Lily watched a movie in the living room. What's wrong? He asked immediately, seeing her expression. Elena explained Dr. Peterson's call, watching James's face grow pale as she spoke. We'll get her tested immediately, he said firmly. Tomorrow morning. I'll call in to work. James, what if the cancer came back? What if we missed something important by waiting too long? James pulled her into his arms, but Elena could feel the tension in his body. We can't think like that. We have to stay positive until we know for sure. But Elena could see the fear in his eyes that matched her own. That night, they told Lily about the need for blood work, trying to keep their voices calm and reassuring. It's just a checkup, Elena explained. Remember how you used to get blood tests regularly? This is the same thing. Lily nodded, but Elena could see the worry creeping into her daughter's expression. Am I sick again? Lily asked quietly. We don't know, sweetheart. The test will tell us. But remember, you feel fine, right? You have lots of energy, you're eating well, you're growing. I feel fine, Lily confirmed. Maybe the test will show that I'm still healthy. Elena hoped desperately that her daughter was right. The next morning, Elena sat in a pediatric oncology office that looked disturbingly similar to the one they had spent so much time in 2 years earlier. James held River while Lily had her blood drawn, chatting cheerfully with the nurse about her new baby brother. "When will we get the results?" Elena asked the doctor. "Later today. I'll call you as soon as I have them." The waiting was excruciating. Elena found herself watching Lily obsessively, looking for any signs of illness or fatigue. But Lily seemed completely normal, playing with River and helping Elena with lunch preparation. At 3 o'clock Elena's phone rang. "Elena, this is Dr. Martinez. I have Lily's test results." Elena's heart hammered in her chest. "And?" "Everything looks completely normal. Her blood counts are excellent, no abnormal cells, all indicators of continued remission." Elena felt her knees give out with relief. She sank into a chair, tears streaming down her face. "She's okay? Really okay?" "She's perfectly healthy. I'm sorry you had to worry. Sometimes when patients move there can be gaps in care, but Lily is doing beautifully." After Elena hung up, she found Lily in the living room reading a book to River. "Good news," Elena said, her voice still shaky with relief. "The doctor called. Your blood work is perfect. You're completely healthy." Lily looked up from the book she was reading to River. "I told you I felt fine," she said with the matter-of-fact confidence of a 9-year-old. Elena laughed through her tears. "Yes, you did. You were absolutely right." When James came home from work, Elena practically threw herself into his arms. "She's okay," Elena whispered against his chest. "She's completely healthy." James held her tight and Elena could feel some of the tension leave his body. "I was so scared," he admitted quietly. "Me too. But she's okay. We're all okay." That evening, as Elena tucked Lily into bed, her daughter surprised her with a question. "Mom, were you scared today? About my blood test?" Elena considered lying, giving her daughter a reassuring answer that would protect her from worry. But their family had been built on honesty, even when the truth was difficult. "Yes, I was scared," Elena admitted. "When you've been sick before, it's natural to worry that it might come back." "But it didn't come back." "No, it didn't. And the doctor says you're perfectly healthy." Lily was quiet for a moment. "I think maybe I was a little scared too. But I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want you to worry more." Elena felt her heart squeeze. "Lily, you never have to protect me from your feelings. If you're scared or worried about anything, I want you to tell me. We're a family and families share everything, the good feelings and the scary ones. Even if it makes you sad? Even then. Because when we share our worries, they don't feel as big anymore." Lily nodded thoughtfully. "Like how Dad shares his work worries with you sometimes?" Elena smiled. "Exactly like that." As Elena left Lily's room, she realized that their health scare, as frightening as it had been, had taught them something important about their family. They had faced the fear together, supported each other through it, and come out stronger on the other side. The next few months settled into a comfortable routine. River was an easy baby, sleeping well and charming everyone with his ready smiles. Lily thrived in her new school and made friends who often came over to play and meet her baby brother. James loved his new job and the challenges it presented. Elena found herself happier than she had ever been. On quiet evenings, when River was sleeping and Lily was doing homework, she would sit with James and marvel at the life they had built together. "Do you ever think about how we started?" she asked one evening as they watched Lily teach River to clap his hands. "Every day," James admitted. "But not with regret. With gratitude." "Gratitude?" "Elena, if you hadn't been desperate enough to make the choice you made, if I hadn't been lonely enough to make the offer I made, we might never have found each other. Your courage in that impossible situation led us to this." Elena looked around their living room, at Lily patiently showing River how to stack blocks, at James watching both children with undisguised love, at the photos on the walls that documented their journey as a family. "Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had found another way to get the money for Lily's treatment," Elena said. "But you didn't need another way. You found the right way. The way that led us here." Elena smiled, understanding what he meant. Their beginning might have been unconventional, but it had been exactly what they both needed. Her desperation had led to his generosity, which had led to unexpected connection, which had grown into deep and lasting love. "Besides," James added with a grin, "can you imagine trying to explain our love story to River when he's older? Well, son, Mommy needed money for your sister's medical treatment, so she made a deal with Daddy." Elena laughed. "We'll figure out an age-appropriate version. We'll tell them the truth," James said seriously. "That sometimes love comes from the most unexpected places, and that the best things in life are worth fighting for. As if sensing he was being discussed, River looked up at them from his spot on the floor and gave them one of his gorgeous baby smiles. "He looks like you," Elena observed, not for the first time. "He has your stubborn streak," James replied. "Did you see him trying to crawl yesterday? He was determined to reach that toy even though he's still too young. He gets that honestly. Look at his big sister." They watched as Lily successfully taught River to bang 2 blocks together, both children delighted with the noise they were making. "We did good," Elena said softly. "We did great," James corrected, pulling her closer on the couch. That night, as Elena nursed River in the quiet of his nursery, she found herself thinking about the journey that had brought them to this moment. 2 years ago, she had been a desperate single mother facing an impossible choice. Now she was a wife and mother of 2, surrounded by love and security she had never dreamed possible. She looked down at River, who was starting to fall asleep in her arms, his tiny hand curled around her finger. In a few years he would be running around with Lily, causing chaos and filling their house with laughter. He would never know the fear that had marked the early years of Lily's life, never know what it felt like to worry about basic necessities or medical bills. But he would know what it felt like to be deeply loved, to be part of a family that chose each other every day, to grow up with parents who understood that the most precious things in life were worth any sacrifice. Elena carefully placed River in his crib and stood watching him sleep for a few more minutes. Down the hall, she could hear James helping Lily with her bedtime routine, their voices mixing in easy conversation about school and friends and plans for the weekend. This was what happiness looked like, Elena realized. Not the dramatic, movie-style happiness she had once imagined, but the quiet, steady kind that grew from everyday moments and shared responsibilities and the comfortable certainty of being exactly where you belonged. As she headed to her own bedroom, Elena paused in Lily's doorway to say goodnight. "Mom?" Lily called softly as Elena was about to leave. "Yes, sweetheart? I'm glad we moved to Seattle. I like our life here." Elena smiled in the darkness. "I'm glad too, Lily. Sweet dreams." "Sweet dreams, Mom. Tell Dad and River I love them." "I will." Elena found James in their bedroom, setting out clothes for the next day with the methodical care he brought to everything in their life together. "Lily says to tell you and River that she loves you," Elena reported. James smiled. "That kid amazes me every day. Do you know what she told me earlier?" "What?" "She said she wants to be a doctor when she grows up so she can help other kids who get sick like she did." Elena felt her chest tighten with pride and love. That sounds exactly like something she would say. She's going to change the world, that one. They both are in their own ways. As Elena got ready for bed, she caught sight of herself in the bathroom mirror and was surprised by what she saw. The woman looking back at her bore little resemblance to the frightened, desperate person she had been 2 years ago. This woman looked confident, loved, secure. This woman looked like someone who had found her place in the world. Elena turned off the bathroom light and climbed into bed beside James, who immediately pulled her close. "I love you," she whispered into the darkness, words she never got tired of saying or hearing. "I love you too," he whispered back. "All of you. This whole beautiful, crazy, perfect family we've built together." Elena smiled and closed her eyes, listening to the quiet sounds of their sleeping house. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new joys, new moments to treasure. But tonight, she was exactly where she belonged, surrounded by the people who had become her whole world. Their love story had started with desperation and impossible choices, but it had grown into something beautiful and lasting and real. And Elena knew, with the certainty that came from having fought for what mattered most, that the best parts of their story were still to come. 5 years later, Elena stood in the kitchen of their Seattle home, packing lunch boxes and trying to mediate a disagreement between her children about whose turn it was to feed their dog, Buster, a golden retriever puppy they had adopted 6 months earlier. "It's Monday, which means it's my turn," Lily announced with the authority of a 14-year-old who kept detailed schedules for everything. "But I want to feed him." River protested, his 5-year-old sense of justice clearly offended. "You can help Lily measure the food," Elena suggested diplomatically. "Teamwork." River considered this compromise and nodded, apparently satisfied. Elena smiled as she watched her children work together to feed Buster, marveling at how normal and chaotic and wonderful their life had become. Lily was in 8th grade now, excelling in her advanced science classes and still talking about becoming a doctor. River was in kindergarten, showing early signs of his father's analytical mind and his sister's stubborn determination. "Mom, don't forget I have soccer practice after school," Lily called as she grabbed her backpack. "And I have art class," River added, not to be outdone. Got it? Dad will pick you both up since I have a doctor's appointment this afternoon. Elena's routine checkup had been scheduled for weeks, but she hadn't mentioned to the family that she had been feeling unusually tired lately. At 35, she attributed it to the busy pace of their life, but her doctor had suggested some additional tests just to be safe. James appeared in the kitchen, adjusting his tie and grabbing the coffee Elena had prepared for him. Crazy day? He asked, kissing her cheek and ruffling River's hair. The usual kind of crazy, Elena replied. But I love it. After the kids left for school and James headed to the office, Elena found herself alone in the quiet house for the first time in weeks. She sat at the kitchen table with her own cup of coffee, looking out at the backyard where River's toys were scattered around the finished treehouse that had become the neighborhood hangout spot. Their life had settled into a rhythm that felt both comfortable and exciting. James had been promoted again at work, and Elena had started taking college classes part-time, working toward the degree she had never had the chance to finish. They had found a balance between their individual goals and their family responsibilities that worked for all of them. The phone rang, interrupting her peaceful moment. It was her sister calling from California. How's the most perfect family in America? Her sister teased. Perfectly imperfect as always, Elena laughed. Lily and River were arguing about dog feeding duties this morning. James spilled coffee on his shirt and had to change, and I can't find River's library book anywhere. Sounds wonderfully normal. It is. How are things with you? As Elena chatted with her sister, she realized how much her perspective on life had changed over the years. The small daily challenges that once would have felt overwhelming now seemed manageable, even amusing. Having a strong partnership with James and knowing their children were healthy and happy made everything else feel like minor inconveniences rather than major crises. That afternoon, Elena sat in Dr. Williams' office, the same doctor who had delivered River, waiting for her test results. Everything looks normal, Dr. Williams said, reviewing Elena's chart. Your blood work is excellent, your blood pressure is good. But I do want to ask about the fatigue you mentioned. It's probably just being busy with 2 kids in school, Elena said. Possibly. But let me ask you this, when was your last period? Elena paused, trying to remember. With her busy schedule, she hadn't been paying close attention to her cycle. I'm not sure. Maybe 6 weeks ago? Dr. Williams smiled. Elena, I think we should do a pregnancy test. Elena stared at her doctor, her mind reeling. A pregnancy test? But we haven't been trying. Were you using birth control? Elena felt her cheeks flush as she realized they had gotten careless over the past few months, so comfortable in their routine that they hadn't been as careful as they should have been. Not consistently, she admitted. 10 minutes later, Elena was staring at a positive pregnancy test, her emotions cycling rapidly between shock, joy, and concern. Based on your symptoms and cycle, I'd estimate you're about 8 weeks along, Dr. Williams said gently. How do you feel about this? Elena took a deep breath. Surprised. Very surprised. But happy, I think? Is it crazy to have 3 kids? Dr. Williams laughed. Elena, you're one of the most capable mothers I know. If anyone can handle 3 children, it's you and James. Driving home from the doctor's office, Elena tried to process the news. Another baby. River was 5 now, finally sleeping through the night consistently, becoming more independent every day. Starting over with a newborn felt daunting. But as she pulled into their driveway and saw the soccer ball River had left on the front lawn, the chalk drawings Lily had made on the sidewalk, and the flowers James had planted for her birthday, Elena felt a familiar warmth spread through her chest. Their family had room for one more. That evening, after homework was finished and the kids were in bed, Elena found James in his study, working on a presentation for the next day. James, can you take a break? I need to talk to you about something. He looked up from his laptop, immediately picking up on her serious tone. Everything okay? How did your doctor's appointment go? Elena sat down in the chair across from his desk, suddenly nervous about how he would react to the news. The appointment went fine. I'm healthy. But James, I'm pregnant. James stared at her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Pregnant? He repeated. About 8 weeks along. James was quiet, and Elena felt her anxiety spike. They had never discussed having more children after River. They had seemed content with their family of 4. How do you feel about it? James asked finally. Honestly? Shocked. But also, excited, I think. How do you feel? James stood up and came around the desk to kneel beside her chair. Elena, I love our family. I love the life we've built. If you want this baby, then I want this baby. But but I want to make sure you're not feeling pressured or overwhelmed. You're in school, the kids are both busy, we have a good balance right now. Elena took his hands in hers. James, when have we ever taken the easy path? When have we ever chosen what made the most logical sense? James smiled, understanding what she meant. Never. Our whole relationship has been about taking leaps of faith, about choosing love even when it didn't make practical sense. Maybe this is just another one of those moments. So you want to do this? Have another baby? Elena thought about Lily teaching River to ride his bike, about James reading bedtime stories in different voices for each character, about the chaos and joy and love that filled their house every day. Yes, she said firmly. I want to have this baby. I want our family to keep growing. James pulled her into his arms, holding her close. Then we're having another baby. We're having another baby, Elena confirmed, laughing at the surreal nature of the conversation. They decided to wait a few weeks before telling the kids, wanting to make sure everything was progressing normally first. But keeping the secret proved harder than expected, especially when River noticed Elena wasn't eating her usual morning coffee. Why aren't you drinking coffee, Mom? He asked one morning, his 5-year-old curiosity impossible to deflect. I'm just trying something different, Elena said vaguely. Lily looked up from her cereal, her 14-year-old perception much sharper than her little brother's. Are you feeling okay? She asked, studying Elena's face. I'm fine, sweetheart. Just a little tired. But Elena could see the wheels turning in Lily's mind, and she knew it was only a matter of time before her observant daughter figured out what was going on. 2 weeks later, after a doctor's appointment confirmed that everything was progressing normally, Elena and James decided it was time to share their news. They waited until after dinner when both kids were relaxed and in good moods. We have something exciting to tell you both, James began. Lily and River immediately perked up, sensing something big was coming. You know how our family has grown over the years? Elena continued. First it was just me and Lily, then James joined us, then we had River. And then we got Buster, River added helpfully. That's right. Well, our family is going to grow again. I'm going to have another baby. River's eyes went wide. Another baby? Like when you had me? Exactly like that. Lily was quiet, her expression thoughtful. When? She asked. Sometime in early spring, Elena said. A spring baby, River said with delight. We've had a Christmas baby, now we get a spring baby. Elena laughed at his enthusiasm. That's right. Are you happy about this, Lily? James asked, noticing their daughter's continued silence. Lily looked around the table at her family, her expression serious. I'm happy, she said finally. But I'm also a little worried. Worried about what? Elena asked gently. Well, I'll be in high school next year and I'll be really busy. River's still little and needs a lot of attention. And you and Dad both work. How are we going to manage a baby too? Elena felt a surge of love for her thoughtful daughter, who at 14 was already thinking about the practical implications of their family's growth. Those are very good questions, Elena said. And you're right that it will be challenging. But Lily, we've handled every challenge that's come our way so far, haven't we? Yes, but this is different. This is a choice we're making. Elena exchanged a look with James, both of them recognizing the wisdom in Lily's observation. You're right, James said. This is a choice. And it's a choice we made because we believe our family is strong enough to handle whatever comes with it. Besides, Elena added, you and River won't be responsible for taking care of the baby. That's Dad's and my job. You're both still kids and your job is to be kids. But can we help if we want to? River asked. Of course you can help. But only if you want to, and only with things that are appropriate for your ages. Over the next few weeks, Elena watched as both children processed the news in their own ways. River was consistently excited, asking daily questions about when the baby would arrive and whether it would be a boy or girl. Lily was more reserved, but Elena caught her reading pregnancy books and looking up information about child development online. Are you really okay with this? Elena asked Lily one evening as they worked together on Lily's science project. I think so, Lily said thoughtfully. At first I was worried that everything would change too much. But then I realized that things changing isn't always bad. Look at how much our family has changed since I was little, and it's all been good changes. Elena felt tears prick her eyes. That's very wise, sweetheart. Besides, Lily added with a grin, I'm going to be the coolest big sister ever. I'll teach the baby everything I know. The baby is going to be very lucky to have you and River as big siblings. As Elena's pregnancy progressed, she was struck by how different this experience was from her previous 2 pregnancies. With Lily she had been young and alone and terrified. With River she had been happy but still adjusting to married life and moving to a new city. This time she felt completely supported and confident. James anticipated her needs before she expressed them, Lily helped with household tasks without being asked, and River entertained her with stories and drawings during her more tired moments. "You know what I love about this pregnancy?" Elena told James one evening as they sat together on the couch, his hand resting on her growing belly. "What's that? I get to just enjoy it. I'm not worried about money or being alone or whether I can handle it. I can just focus on growing this baby and appreciating what a miracle it is." "It is a miracle," James agreed. "All of it. This baby, our family, the life we've built together." Elena leaned against his shoulder, feeling the baby move beneath his palm. "Do you ever think about that night?" she asked quietly. "The night that started everything?" "Every day," James admitted. "But not with regret or shame anymore. With gratitude." "Gratitude?" "Elena, that night led to this moment. Your courage led to our love, which led to our marriage, which led to River, which led to this new baby. Every choice we made, every risk we took, every leap of faith brought us here." Elena placed her hand over his on her belly, feeling their third child moving beneath their joined palms. "I used to think that night was the hardest thing I ever did," she said softly. "Now I think it might have been the best thing I ever did." "It was the beginning of everything," James agreed. As they sat together in the quiet of their living room, surrounded by the evidence of the life they had built, family photos, children's artwork, books and toys, and all the beautiful chaos of a house filled with love, Elena realized that their story had come full circle. It had started with an impossible choice made out of desperate love for a child. Now, years later, they were preparing to welcome another child into a family built on that same love, strengthened by time and trust and the daily choice to keep choosing each other. Their love story might have had an unconventional beginning, but it had led to the most conventional and precious thing of all, a happy family, growing and changing and facing the future together with confidence and joy. And as Elena felt their newest family member kick beneath her ribs, she knew that the best chapters of their story were still to come.